Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Katrina Ness, Vanessa Collins, and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings, Vanessa Collins, and Katrina Ness.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable's After Dark show. I'm Vanessa Collins, joined by Katrina Ness, Ted Ings, and our very special guest tonight, Tom Kline from Better Vantage Point. Welcome, Tom, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to see you again. Last time I saw you was at Northwood. So of course I see you on Fixed Roundtable, but great to see you in person.
Great to see you.
Tom Kline, one of the great talents in automotive. Tom, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And you've got a great business on compliance. And that's right. We met at Northwood last fall. And
that's right.
That was an amazing time up there.
It was really incredible. I was so impressed with the students, their entrepreneurial nature. They're bright. They're shiny, they're new, and really engaged in what they're doing. And I was very impressed with what I saw.
Yeah, the whole thing very, very impressive.
It is very impressive. And the panel discussions that you moderated were great too. They were unusually good and insightful.
They were a lot of fun. And Tom, talk about talent, right? Wow, did we have some talent with us on that stage?
We did. A lot of the great names in the industry.
Speaking of which, Paul Elliott is with us, Sean Kingery, Tony Owens, Dave Buckshaw. Dave, you were with us up at Northwood in October. Great to see you. BL Innovar, another great Michigan company as well. And a lot going on. So before we kind of dive into what Tom's topic is tonight and we'll talk about, ladies, we're headed out next week to Sacramento, California. And we're going to see our good friend Tully Williams. And I was so pleased to learn that you guys are going to be there to support all that.
Yeah, so Vanessa and I are so excited. We will be attending the pop-up event at the brand new Porsche store at the Nilo Company in Sacramento, California. This again will be March 12th. It's the Wednesday, and it'll be from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're really excited, and of course to see you all in person. So it'll be a good event.
Yeah.
Katrina, save me a Porsche that'll match my sweater if you would.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got you.
Work on that with Tully.
Yeah, we'll do.
Hey Tom, you're right. They do have some great swag there, right? Among the best. So Tom, great to have you with us tonight. Tell us for those in the audience who don't know, give us your background, tell us how we got here, and tell us what you do now if you don't mind.
Sure, of course. So my family's been in the car business. This year will be 100 years. So I'm a third generation car guy. I was a dealership owner for 30 years. And after we sold our stores in 2019, I started my consulting business, which is called Better Vantage Point, helping dealers, single point dealers and large dealer groups with their risk and compliance. And to liken what I do, I came up with an analogy, which is that running a dealership is like trying to tuck an octopus into bed, but the tentacles keep flopping all over the place, right? And so my job as a consultant is help tuck those tentacles in and make sure that we keep the bad guys away. So that's 30 seconds about me.
Love it.
Ladies, on the dealer side, a lot of dealers don't like necessarily to talk about this topic, compliance, right, Tom? And so it's not always the sexiest, but it's really important, right?
It is not sexy, but it is a critical part of running a business. If you're going to make sure that you keep the money you make, you can make all kinds of money, but if you don't keep any of it and all goes out the back door with problems, then you're working for nothing. And I've seen that happen more than I'd like to.
Definitely.
So tonight, everybody, we will take some questions from the audience, and Tom is going to answer some of the current things that are happening in our industry on the compliance and things we should be aware of. And Ladies, I mean, it's not often we get a talent like Tom on the show tonight. So Vanessa, great opportunity for us.
Absolutely. We're so excited about tonight and kind of diving into our first questions. How is the political climate right now for dealers, and how much should they be worried about regulatory enforcement?
Yes, so great question. I could probably spend 2 hours on that, but let me turn it down to 2 minutes. So the current administration, some dealers think because the current administration is anti-regulatory, that dealers don't have to worry about compliance anymore. And nothing really could be further from the truth. The head of the FTC voted against car dealers every time last year and voted for fines against car dealers, including a $20 million fine. And what's happened is, as nature abhors a vacuum, when there's no federal regulators, then the state AGs will step up and have stepped up to try to enforce the regulations against car dealers. And I'll give you a couple examples: New York, Illinois, Wisconsin, Arizona, Florida, Maryland, and the last one is New Jersey. And what's very interesting about New Jersey is the governor of New Jersey is Phil Murphy. His wife is a woman named Tammy, who I grew up with, and her father owns a chain of car dealers. So, and New Jersey just fined dealers $500,000 last year. So it's a very active attorney general climate, and some people joke that AG stands for almost governor, which is the case actually with Greg Abbott in Texas and Maura Healey in Massachusetts. Were both AGs, and now they're both governors as examples.
That's right. It's a common step now, right? From AG to governor, make your mark, getting some money from the car dealers, and then run for governor, right?
And they're kind of in a no-lose situation, right? Because even if they lose the case, they can still say to their constituents, "Look, I'm trying to look out for you and make sure that nothing bad's happening to you." And so makes car dealers a target, unfortunately.
Those darn car dealers. Okay. But you know what, from a business standpoint, Tom, if I'm a car dealer running a business, there's so much I got to keep my eye on now. I think I need somebody in charge of compliance, or I would imagine that's probably one of the steps that a dealership needs to take early on.
Absolutely. And some dealers want to check the box. Sometimes they buy software and they task somebody to do the things, and then they never check behind it without some kind of audit function and somebody going back to check behind what the policies and the procedures are. You don't know what's going to happen, because you're not sure whether everybody's following what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Sabino is in the chat, All-American Ford. And Jim, a good friend of ours, whom you know, Mickey Quinn from Vanguard Dealer Services, was on not long ago and told us the story about a dealer. I'm not sure where, but they were in New Jersey, it seems. And they were overcharging dealers, Tom, on registration fees. Not a lot of money, but $10 here, $15 there, $20 there. And they were overcharging until a customer caught onto it and went in and wanted to see the receipts and see the numbers. Well, it ended up, from what Mickey said, was a class action lawsuit.
Right.
And that dealer ended up paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in
fees
settlement
back to the customer, but not to mention the hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees.
Wow.
So don't forget the attorney's fees. And Tony Owens is correct. They do think dealerships have deep pockets. There's really the one piece of advice I can give to dealers to keep out of regulatory and lawyer problems is problems come on two legs. They either customer problems or employee problems. If you fix your two-legged problems, then you're going to eliminate 80% of potential issues. So I encourage dealers, a lot of dealers, they have customers who come in and say, I want 4 new tires or whatever it is. And they say, but if they don't need new tires, they don't, it's fine. We check them. Here's the measurements. fix the problems. It doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. And sales managers get caught up sometimes in we did nothing wrong. And that's just the wrong, in my opinion, from what I see, when you don't, just like you just said, Ted, when you don't fix those small problems, they turn into big problems.
Definitely. So back to, the dealer with so many deadlines and, compliance items to keep track of. What is one thing that you would recommend car dealers to do to keep organized and on top of this so they don't get in those sticky situations?
Right. So I like to suggest that, let me answer Dave's question for what's the difference between auto dealers and commercial truck and trail dealers? None. If you're a dealership, you're a dealership. It's just, if you're selling commercial trucks, you're not going to have as many customer problems that are going to go to regulators because they're business people and they just want their trucks fixed. So the potentiality for regulatory problems is lower, though the boiling point, if you're not getting people their trucks, they're going to have lawyers and they're going to they're going to be quicker to call lawyers, I would say. But going back to answer your question, there is a way to centralize all of your compliance activities. And as we say in the car business, if it's not written down somewhere, it never happened. And so if you are going to work on these compliance activities, consider that you should have all of these things centralized somewhere so that if a regulator walks in and they say, we know that you're not doing such and such, and chances are they're going to find something, by the way, because if you look at anything closely enough, you're going to find a problem. That's just, I have a book of 48 pages that a compilation of every single regulation I could ever find over my 35-year career that car dealers are supposed to follow. It's ridiculous. Car dealers are the most regulated, organizations, I think, in the country. But if you can centralize it and the regulator comes in, you say, come on in, sit down and let me show you what we got. You say, and after 3 or 4 hours of going through everything, they're like, okay, I get it. You made a mistake here. Just fix Mrs. McGillicuddy's problem and we'll call it a day. So it makes a big difference if you can tell that story and show all of your activities.
Wow.
Definitely.
So Tom, early on, cooperation, be proactive, right? Be ready, be prepared. And there's a lot of resources that dealers can tap into, like your company, Better Vantage Point. I imagine you counsel dealers and you help them maybe to prepare for what could be inevitable or could never happen at all, but you prepare them based on things that you've seen happen in the industry.
Right, and they're happening all the time. I just saw a new one today from Alaska, and last year, and I love this story. Last year, an investigator for the state of Alaska went in to buy a car for himself off the clock, and he said, "I'd like to buy this car at this price." And the salesman apparently said, "Well, we can't sell it to you at that price." He said, "Well, but it's being advertised." And the salesman said, "Oh, we just do that to get people in here. We're not really going to sell them the car at that price, right?" And this guy was an investigator for the state of Alaska. So,
Whoopsies.
Not good.
Wow. And like you said, dealerships are some of the most, regulated organizations. So is it possible for dealerships to cut one or even two expenses while still being able to mitigate risk and be compliant? So yeah, are there any cost savings that can kind of be recognized here?
Absolutely. Great question, Vanessa. So typically what I see is two different areas for starters. Number one is everybody's cookie consent banner, the little thing that you have to say, I accept all the cookies. That okay. Typically dealers are overpaying for that and not getting the right product that'll do all the things they need to. So that's certainly one. It's as Ted said at the beginning, not sexy, but saving money is sexy, right?
For sure.
So, and then the other one that I see is I go in and do a deep dive into insurance policies, in dealers' insurance policies. And recently I saved one dealer $46,000 a year and got them better coverage. another 29,000 a year, and these are big numbers as the years go by.
Wow.
And so, but that you have to spend time on all these things, right? And insurance, not the sexiest thing, not the most interesting thing, but very, very important if you find yourself having a claim from a regulator or a lawyer or whomever, or a customer, and they want something, and you need to know whether you have insurance that will cover that particular item. It gets very complicated.
Tom, do most dealers contact you when a problem has already arisen and, sometimes it's too late, sometimes it's not, or are they proactive? What's typical, or is there even a typical?
There really isn't a typical. I mean, I had a dealer who called me a couple of years ago, and he said the DMV inspector is here to arrest me, and I'm not sure what to do. And
okay, that's late.
So that's a little bit of a long story, but the short version is I was able to negotiate him out of the problem, turn the problem over to his insurance company.
Wow.
And kind of engineer the whole thing so that he could get out of it. But I get some of that, and then I get some dealers who are very proactive, and they want to make sure that that they're all buttoned up, and that if they have a problem, that they know what to do. It may not be a problem today, but they might have a policy so that when something happens, like what happens when the media calls, what do you do? Yeah. Right? When the media comes and starts to interview the lot attendant, does the lot attendant just start talking and saying, oh yeah, well, her car's been here for 2 years and we can't fix it and we can't get it right, and I don't know what's going on, right? I mean, does the lot attendant know that he can't talk to the media, right? These are some there's a lot of things that dealers can be proactive on to prevent a problem when you already have a problem and not make it worse.
Right. And I think from a social standpoint, Vanessa and I are active on social media in different aspects. And there's this whole thing of like cancel culture and like taking one thing and running with it and spreading it around. And like you were saying, who can talk to the media and who can't, and getting the right coverage and everything like that. So how is that so important, and how should it be so important in a dealer's eyes?
Right. Well, what I see often, the reason that dealers don't get that right is because they have a non-proactive broker who brings them their quote about 4 days before the policy renews. So the dealer doesn't have any options other than to yell and scream and tell them to get out of the office, and that's about it. So dealers should get their quotes 60 days ahead of time, and brokers are going to say, well, the insurance companies won't do that, and they're not set up that way, and we get the quotes late. Nope. Nope. We can get insurance quotes 60 days ahead of time most of the time, if not 30 days ahead of it. It still leaves you plenty of opportunity to negotiate on the policy, negotiate on the price, make sure the coverages are right, talk about any of the problems that you foresee, and get it all buttoned up in the right fashion.
Definitely.
Tom, occasionally dealers, there are some dealers who've done the wrong thing, right? And
right.
You read about it in the news, right? You read about it when the state gets a big judgment or a big lawsuit or a big settlement with the dealer, and you read through some of those complaints, Tom, and it's amazing to see how long that dealer may have gotten away with this. And although this may be what's called out by the attorney general, whoever it is, you wonder how much more there is that they didn't know about that the dealer may have been doing.
I see different sides of it. For example, I saw one particular case in Florida where the dealer was accused of overcharging. I did the math. It was like 6,000 customers for $200, right? So that's $1.2 million if my math's right in my head, right? They only got fined $557,000. So that dealer says to himself, well, I still made $600,000 doing it the wrong way. Why change, right? And then you see others where you can see kind of where the misunderstanding is, that the regulator might not really get what's going on. If the FTC, when they put out these press releases, they put pretty detailed information in them. And I read them kind of over and over until I really feel like I have an understanding of what may or may not have happened. You never know both sides of the equation. But what's interesting about those FTC press releases, other than that, is at the bottom of the FTC press release, it says the FTC will start an enforcement action if it has reason to believe that the business is engaging in unwarranted practices. So it's kind of guilty until proven innocent, based on the FTC's own press releases. So it's if you get in their crosshairs, it's a tough way to go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the folks watching, Tom, look for ideas and best practices in fixed operations. And I'm wondering, what are some points from you in terms of fixed ops service and parts? Because I imagine there's so many places that a regulator could look, for non-compliance. What's some low-hanging fruit that a dealer or a fixed ops director watching tonight, can look at, this week or tomorrow and say, am I buttoned up in this area or that? What are some of the common things that you see that are low-hanging fruit?
I would say the number one is training. And then number two is making sure that it's documented. So if you're going to do a training to everybody, for example, lift safety or forklift safety, right? Excuse me, the forklift operators have to be certified and, to be able to drive the forklift. When you sit down and do a training, do they sign an employee acknowledgement saying, on this date at this time, I was trained on forklift safety? And then taking that document and making sure it gets back to their personnel file, so that if you have a problem, if the car falls off the lift, if somebody gets hurt, if any of these things, that you can say, look, here's our policies on forklift, on forklift safety. Here's our policy on lift safety. They were trained every year, and this employees, here's 2021, 22, 23, and 24, we signed our forklift or our lift policy, our lockout tagout policy, and making sure that you have a robust way, going back to what I said earlier, to make sure there's one place to store all this stuff. You can store it in their personnel files, and that's fine. But if somebody walks in and says, what happened here, or you get sued, you might not remember that it's in that personnel file. So that would be my number one.
I see a lot about mobile service. Ed Roberts is big on mobile.
Right.
Ladies, he spent some time at Bozar. Jim Sabino, who's in the chat, big on mobile service. I didn't realize until like 6 months ago, Tom, that if they send a technician or a team out in a mobile service vehicle, that in most states, one has to be certified in hazmat, like in cleanup, in case there's a spill, an oil spill. They have to be certified to clean that up. Okay.
Right.
And they have to do that ahead of time proactively and get that certification and bring all the tools and be able to document all that. And I was talking to somebody recently, I think it was a lawyer I met at Northwood. And I said, what do you think about mobile service? And he was just rattling off all the things that could go wrong. Okay.
Right.
Now Ed would tell us all the things that can go right. Okay. So
Of course.
it depends how you look at it.
But on the defensive side, do you have a pollution policy?
Yeah.
That if the oil spills and goes into the drain. Many years ago, we had a 18-wheeler who was unloading cars. His radiator overflowed onto the public street, and this was many years ago. It was $30,000 just to clean up the radiator fluid, because you had to get somebody to remediate it and make sure it didn't go everywhere, and that kind of thing. So does your pollution coverage cover that kind of thing? Do you have enough pollution coverage? What are the limits? Because on pollution, as an example, it's joint and several liability for the dealer. And so what that means is that if you don't have enough pollution coverage to cover the problem, then the dealer is personally responsible. In other words, if it's a massive problem, right, the dealer can become personally responsible because of all the the rules and regs.
I didn't even realize there was pollution coverage.
Wow. That's why we need Tom. That is why we need Tom.
You have to piece all these things together, right? I see a cat table.
Oh, he literally just turned my computer. Yes, he loves being on camera. So he's always finding a way to get in the view and join our After Dark shows.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he does. He's involved in the transitions too. Well, believe me, I hear him. So
It's Colin. Hey, Colin. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Colin. That's right. Colin, great young man, great student at Northwood, graduating in May. I got to get back to him, right? He's been Katrina, fortunes in the follow-up. He's been following up with me, right? So good man, Colin. So yeah, congratulations to you on all you got going. Tom, the students out of Northwood are really just to segue a little bit, but I mean, it gives us a lot of hope for the future of our industry to see these young people.
It does. It does. I really enjoyed my time there, and I'm really looking forward to going back. And the show is in September this year, right, Katrina?
Yes. It's the 18th through the 21st. So a couple weeks earlier, which is good in terms of the warm weather, but a lot more planning that needs to be done sooner once we get back to school. So. Well, that's
all right. So 62nd annual Northwood University International Auto Show. Katrina, give us the details on that, because obviously you're running the show. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
When is that going to happen? Because like Tom, I'm eager to learn more about that as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Like I said, it's the 18th through the 21st. It's a weekend filled with different events, as well as every single car brand you can think of, different supercars and luxury cars. And it's all student run. Tom's been there before, as well as Ted and the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And both of them will be back. So there is a lot to look forward to this year. We're working on elevating the show, as that is the theme and the word of choice for the 60-second show. So it's a lot to look forward to, and the best is yet to come.
Very good.
Tom, how did you find Northwood, or how did that come about? How did they find you?
LG and I started chatting at a conference, and then we kept talking. Okay. and now we're years later and we're still talking.
Wow.
I mentioned to Katrina earlier today, we had a call, and I said, there are still a lot of people in the industry who don't know what Northwood is, and they don't understand it. They don't know what kind of a school it is. I mean, do you see that as well? I still see that out there.
I do. And when I was touring colleges a long time ago, I've been to, 20 or 30 at least campuses, and Northwood is really exemplary. I mean, it's really an incredible place because of the students and their aptitude and their positivity. I was really just very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Kingery, I worked 11 years for a dealer who went to prison for almost 10 years.
I know who that dealer is.
I know who that dealer is too, for not being compliant. It's not a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that in that particular case, if it's the one I'm thinking about, this particular dealer set up a pawn shop and had customers bringing in items like 10-year-old iPads, and he was cutting a check back to the dealership as a down payment for $4,000 to buy the iPad as one of the items. I mean, it was a little bit of the Wild West, if it's the one I'm thinking about.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize you're right. That could occur. They could do something like that. Wow. Oof.
It's insane.
Not good. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, Tom's here to keep us in line. So I spoke to Tom in the green room going into tonight, and I asked Tom, Katrina, if he would come on the show for May, for our big May 12th to the 15th All Systems Go event. We got that name from Ed Roberts, by the way. So Tom, this is our theme. It's All Systems Go. Ed Roberts used that for their theme for 2025 at Bozard Ford Lincoln. And I asked if Tom would come on the show and do a panel on compliance. And Tom, we'd be honored to have you and any experts that you want to bring on, or dealers or retail people. I think it'd be a great discussion, and it needs to be had. So that'd
be great. I'd be honored to do it. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. And if it's great, a lot of times these become regular parts of the show, and people look forward to it every time we do it. So, I look forward to that. So that'll be amazing. So
Very good.
yeah, super stuff. Well, ladies, here we are, and Tom's done a great job tonight. And Tom, any closing thoughts that you want to leave our audience with? And how do we find out more about Better Vantage Point? Where do we go? Where does our audience go for more information, or if they have questions to ask you?
Yep. Reach out anytime, LinkedIn, Facebook, or my website, bettervantagepoint.com. Or if you can't remember Better Vantage Point, you can remember Tuck the Octopus. So tucktheoctopus.com. And I answer my phone. That's why I have a little red phone after my name on LinkedIn. It's because I do answer my phone. And final thoughts are, consider whether you want, how you want to handle problems, because, what I like to say is don't get a case of the yets. And a case of the yets is I haven't had a problem yet, so I'm not going to have a problem. And from where I sit, you're always going to have a problem. If you're in business long enough, you're going to have problems. So prepare for them, know how to handle them, triage them, and then you mitigate your risk and you keep the money you make.
Great advice. Mike Weldon, I love the new headshot. Love the new picture. So Mike Weldon out in Santa Rosa, California. Mike, I hope we see you next week. I know you're busy traveling the world. And when you're not, you're traveling with us, right? Training a lot of stores around the country. So, but he does a great job. Tom, what's that phone number? And I'm going to ask Vanessa or Katrina if they could put it in the chat if people want to reach out to you, if you don't mind.
Nope, absolutely. 757-434-7656.
Okay. And repeat it one more time. Just make sure we get it right.
757-434-7656. That's the one.
That is Tom Kline, everybody. Direct number. And of course, as you heard, he's on LinkedIn. I know he's on Facebook as well, and easy to get a hold of, and very active on social media. So, Tom, on behalf of the whole industry, thank you for what you do, and it's a great service that you offer our industry.
Thank you, Ted, and thank you both, and thank you all for having me. It's great to be here.
You keep us on the straight and narrow, so that's good.
I'll do my best.
Everybody, we'll be back on Wednesday night, and Michael King is coming in. Good evening, Michael, and we miss you, and look forward to great things ahead, Michael. So great job on everything that you do. We'll be back on Wednesday night. We're going to have Damon Egan here, who runs the largest Ford dealership in Canada, Sherwood Ford. He's in Alberta, and he's got the biggest mobile service operation in Canada for Ford as well, I think, for any manufacturer. So great friend of the Roundtable, who's been with us since day one. So Damon will be here on Wednesday night, and we look forward to having him here. So
Something to look forward to.
Tom, thank you again.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Everybody, we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Good night.